The 28th of June 2023, you're welcome back to Real True Education, not fake news. I did a video on the Gardaí, the Stinger, and I accidentally uploaded the wrong video, another one that was a duplicate, and somebody rightly pointed out that, and I immediately took it down. There's no point in having the same video up twice. I'm very sorry, hands up, I made a mistake. And worse than that, I deleted the Stinger video, so now I have to try and make it again. This is about the Gardaí, and I'll keep it as brief as I can, and it's the Stinger. Now, in police forces all over, and for those who don't know, in Ireland the police force is the Garda Síochána, and they call the guards, a policeman, a guard, or a Garda. And a problem is stopping getaway cars. And there has always been instructions to the Gardaí that it's better to let criminals get away than to pursue them to public danger. Now that was kind of always assumed to be that you didn't drive them on so fast that they'd run into a woman with a pram and kill her and her baby or child. And that was a good enough law, because in the end of the day, when you caught them, all you got doing was you give them a while in prison. On the other hand, you couldn't just let them away with blue murder because they had stolen a car. And some of these criminals leave Dublin and they leave Cork and they come out the country thinking there's easy pickings. And they have to be handled with kid gloves. That's the way our society is, with our woke cultural Marxist society. Now, stopping cars without causing accidents has been a problem. I'm not suggesting that every young lad that takes a car and drives off should have a lorry pulled out in front of them suddenly and have them killed. But I'm saying that the barrier, or the policy of prosecuting policemen for trying to enforce the law and trying to catch criminals should be only used where there's gross recklessness on behalf of the Garda. And sometimes the Garda could go down one branch of a carriageway, the criminals will turn around and drive up the wrong way up the dual carriageway, and they'll prosecute the guard on the carriageway. So what is he supposed to do? It's a difficult one, but in today's environment, Gardaí think about this before they join. The time to think about these things is before they join. And I can't change anything in the Guards, because the management in the Guards is so belligerent that it will not be told what to do under any circumstances. It will fight every tooth and nail. And we saw that with Commissioner Martin Byrne, who should have seen the writing on the wall, no matter what the rights and wrongs of the Maurice McCabe thing was. With all this, he should have seen that the game was up, and he still held on to the bitter end. They are rock solid in the commitment never ever to change. And the new Commissioner, Drew Harris, is the same, except that he's woke. That's all the difference there is there. Anyway, the stopping of these cars has been a problem. And one of the things that was invented, and a very good thing too, is the Stinger. And the Stinger basically is a big mat. Did you ever see a big rubber mat on where you'd go into a garage and then you'd walk into the office? Maybe you go down and view the car down in the garage and you'd walk into the office. And it's a big rubber mat, about 3/4 of an inch thick, it'd be about 2 foot by maybe 14 inches, I suppose, in area. And it's not too heavy or that, it's handleable all right. But in it is like hypodermic needles. You know, the needle the vet uses to inject a big animal, or even the one the doctor uses, or a nurse, to inject patients. It has a hole right up through it, and it's cut off at an angle, and it's very sharp, and it has a base like this. So essentially this fits down in a hole in the mat. I'll show you now, like that. Fits down in a hole in the mat, and if a tire goes across it, the tire will go down on it like this, and then it pulls it up, because it's not too tightly stuck into the mat. It can't go down, but it can easily pull up. And when it goes up in the tire, it punctures the tire, and then it goes on, and the air then can get out through the hole in the needle and flatten the tire. It's a great invention. I mean, it should have been thought up years ago, but that's all right. They're out about 25, 30 years anyway. Now, this mat is then on the end of a thing like a scissors. Do you see that? It's like a pop riveting pliers, a thing for putting in pop riveting. That's the thing. And you can pull it in and out, okay? And there's a handle on the end of it, and it comes in a carrier case. So essentially the ideal way would be to have a car block on one part of the road, leave a space for them to get through, wave them down from the distance, don't endanger the guard, have adequate lights and all that to warn them if it's nighttime. And if they don't stop, then just as they come, throw the thing out under the nearest wheel of the car so that the wheel will cross it. And if you throw it too far, if it's thrown too far, while the front wheel misses it, it can be pulled back a bit so that the second wheel catches it. That's the general way you try to use it. Now, it has worked and worked successfully for all types of vehicles. It might not work for a tractor tyre, but it works for lorries, cars and vans and motorcycles. Now, you might say, isn't that a great idea? And they're issued to all Garda district headquarters. Some have 2 of them. They're in the patrol cars used by traffic units and all of that, and task forces and all of that, and special armed units and everything like that. Okay, they have them adequately. That's not the issue. So you might think, knowing the way Irish public life works, can you think of anything that might be wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with it is that it cannot be used by the guard on the ground or the sergeant or whoever's on the ground without actually getting permission from a member of the force of inspector rank or above. In the force, there's the Garda, that's a private in the army, a sergeant, equal to a sergeant, an NCO, that's the same as a lieutenant, a superintendent who is he the same as a captain, I think. Then you have a chief superintendent in charge of the division, the superintendent's in charge of the district, and you have the commissioner ranks, then about 9 of them above that, and you have the commissioner. But the thing about it is, the guard cannot use the stinger until he gets permission from a superintendent, a chief superintendent or an inspector, and if it's out of hours, that will always be an inspector. And usually in Dublin there's an inspector around somewhere, but it still requires ringing them up and getting their permission and all, and this car could be coming down the road, and in many cases it can't be used at all because the guard cannot get through to an inspector. Now, you see, on my channel, you get hard information. You won't hear that on any normal media because they don't tell this. They don't want to do it. And this is the hierarchy of the guards being extra safe. They want to place any possible responsibility for anything that could arise from the use of the stinger or stopping cars, which is controversial and is difficult to manage, down at the lowest level. If the sergeant or guard does throw it out before he can get the permission, and it just stops, there won't be any questions asked. But if anything goes wrong, they'll prosecute the guard or the sergeant, or they'll discipline him internally. Now, I'm not so much out to change this, because you cannot change the belligerent attitude of senior Garda management. They will not change, ever. Before the inquiries into Donegal arms planting, no superintendent ever got into any trouble. They could do anything they wanted. They're above the law. An inspector might not be just so much above the law. He's in between. And in the case of several commissioners, they would not see the writing on the wall. They didn't know exactly what their position was, and this overstepped the line and were sacked. In the case of Sergeant Maurice McCabe, whether he was right or whether he was wrong, the Commissioner Martin Callanan should have seen the writing on the wall that what he was pushing was not going to work. And Maurice hit it lucky in that he got a politician, TD John McGuinness, to actually take an interest in it. And when John McGuinness seen what was happening, he realised he had to do something. But in 9 cases out of 10, there'd be no John McGuinness. He wouldn't meet him in the first place, and he would not report it in the second place. But in this case, it did work. So Callanan was counting on his luck, and he ran out of luck, and he got fired. So these people do not change. This rule about the stinger, it essentially says that the guard or the sergeant is not competent to make a decision. Why can't they train them how to make the decision? Tell them how to use the stinger where it's necessary, how to assess it, and if they can attempt to contact an inspector, do so. But if they can't contact the inspector in the time available, to let them use it. In other words, don't just let the guards use it willy-nilly. Let them get on to whoever is in authority if there's that opportunity. If there's not that opportunity, then they should be entitled to make the decision themselves. So what actually happens is that if there's some incident happening, let's say the guards have information that there's going to be a bank robbery. Bank robbery is going to be, let's say, in Athy in County Carlow. They'll have everyone geared up, they'll give the instruction, the inspector will come along and he'll say, when they're fleeing out of town, set up, block each road, you have all your stingers, and now you have my permission to use this stinger, but you must tell me if possible. So he can give that kind of a permission. But the problem is, 3 months down the road, some gurriers or criminals could come out from Dublin or out from Cork or anywhere else, and they could, Limerick even, Galway, we better not isolate anybody, they could come down from the north, and in a flash the guard could be in the position of what's he going to do, and the inspector could be at home in his bed, sound asleep with his mobile off, the superintendent could be away on leave, and there might be no one else around. So in that situation, he has to actually let the car go, even though it might have the daughter of some innocent person who's going to be kidnapped and killed. He has to let it go. Of course, the guards are basically very decent people. The ordinary rank and file guards will very often risk their lives for the public. They have shown to do that, particularly in water incidents and drowning incidents. And sometimes they'll take it upon themselves to say, look, life's not worth living if I can't stop this outrageous villain getting away. And they do it. And if it works out, good luck. If it doesn't work out, they'll be prosecuted. They'll be persecuted within the force and disciplined and all that. And there's nobody you can turn to. There are unions to try and help and all that. But I'm just bringing it to your attention, particularly for people thinking of joining the guards. When you're out there, you may be in this situation. You may be in this situation. You may find yourself in 3 years' time down the road with the stinger in your hand, trying to get on the mobile phone to get the inspector to give you the permission, and he'll want to hear the whole story. He'll want to know everything. He'll try and cover himself as best he can. He'll make a note in his notebook and all that he gave the permission or he refused it. And by the time that's all done, the car's gone. Now, whether you want to join a force like that, I don't know. The only solution to this, of course, is political, and that is kick out Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour, and when Sinn Féin gets in, they'll even be more anti-guard because they were connected with the IRA and the dissidents and all that, and they're not going to want to go against them if they can help it. Okay, now it has to be said, to be fair to Sinn Féin, the Offences Against the State Act used to have a provision and has a provision for trial of certain criminal offences, violent type offences, by the Special Criminal Court without a jury, and Sinn Féin policy was this was wrong, but last year they changed and they said they would allow the Special Criminal Court to do this because it has to be renewed every year. So I have to be honest about this, I'll be truthful about it. Anyway, I'm pointing out this. This is all to be taken into the equation. When you're 4 or 5 years in the guards, you have a certain amount of money paid in, you have certain rights and things coming, and it's not that easy to walk off and leave all behind you. My job, the only person in the world who knows what's going on in the medical profession, in the Gardaí, in the courts, in the government, and the whole damn lot of them. I have a good head of me for figuring them out, and I have good contacts, and it's not on my phones. Those who are that have been monitoring my phones for years, they're not going to get me because I'm too cute like for that. But this is what is happening. It is sad that they can't recruit proper guards that will know how to use this stuff. Now, many someone comments underneath these videos, they're going to fill the guards full of migrants. And that is what they will do. They'll fill the guards full of migrants if they can, because they won't get the Irish to do it. And that is a sin and guilt by our people, our own people, who allowed these governments to get away with this. Of course, if we have a certain amount of genuine migrants, their children have to be given equal opportunity. But when they can't get them, we'll be all being policed by Pakistanis and all of this. And you know the story yourself. So that's where it's going, that's where it's gone in England already. But I just want to bring to your attention the stinger. So now you know, there is a stinger, there is a system for stopping cars very safely, because they're brought to a halt over a period of about 40 to 100 yards, safe distance, and still near enough to be caught by the Gardaí. but the guard cannot use it except when he gets permission from an inspector or superintendent or some higher rank, and that is very often very difficult to get, particularly in rural areas where people have to get their night's sleep, where they have to get their holidays, and they have to get their days off, and all of that, sick leave and everything else. I've explained that. I've explained that. So what to do with it is their problem. I don't care what to do with it, but I hope I'm not sacked some night and try to catch them. I'd like to see the guards catching the criminals, and that is nearly becoming a politically wrong thing to say. But for now, anyway, folks, I've given you my stinger video, and we'll move on for something else. I don't know, there may be one or two other things about the Gardaí, and then we move on to some other branch of the public service. See you back for something else. See you.